The shuttle landed with a soft sound on the docking platform. Sung looked through the small window at the research station floating in space. Behind the station, the planet 7 glowed with strange colors. Red clouds covered most of its surface. Even from here, it looked dangerous. "Beautiful, isn't it?" said from the seat next to him. She was already gathering her bags. Sung nodded slowly. "Beautiful and deadly. They say everything on that planet can kill you." "That's why we're here," said with a smile. "Someone has to study it." They were the first humans ever assigned to this station. The Galactic Union had 12 different species working here, but never humans. Until now. Sung was a botanist who studied plants, was a who studied alien life forms. Together, they would help catalog the deadly ecosystem of 7. The airlock opened, and a tall figure made of what looked like living crystals stood waiting for them. Director, Sung had read about before. Their bodies were solid but somehow also alive. Light passed through them in beautiful patterns. "Welcome to station," Director said. His voice was deep and echoed strangely. "I am Director. I will be honest with you. I did not request human researchers." Sung and exchanged a quick look. "The Galactic Union Command insisted," continued. "They believe humans have unique qualities that may help our research. I remain skeptical." "We appreciate your honesty, Director," Sung said calmly. "We hope to prove ourselves useful." Studied them for a long moment. His crystalline face showed no expression, but something in his posture suggested doubt. "Follow me. I will show you to your quarters and explain our protocols." As they walked through the station, Sung noticed the other researchers watching them. Some looked curious. Others looked afraid. One creature that resembled a giant insect quickly moved out of their path, pressing against the wall as they passed. "Why are they scared of us?" whispered. "Humans have a reputation," Sung whispered back. "Stories spread fast in the galaxy." Director led them into a large meeting room. A holographic display showed the planet below in great detail. 7 is one of the most toxic worlds we have ever discovered, explained. Every plant, every animal, every drop of water contains substances that can kill most known species. We have lost researchers here. Good people. 3 scientists died in the first year alone. "How did they die?" asked. "Various causes. One touched a plant that released poison through the skin. Another breathed spores from a fungus. The third..." paused. "The third ate a fruit. We call it the death apple. She thought it was safe because it looked similar to food from her home world. She was wrong." Sung felt a chill run down his spine. "I'm sorry for your losses." "This is why our protocols are strict," said firmly. "No one touches any specimen without full protective equipment. No one enters the containment areas without permission. And no one, under any circumstances, consumes anything from that planet. Is this understood?" Both humans nodded. "Good. Doctor, you will work in the botanical laboratory. Doctor, you will assist our xenobiology team. You will meet Physician Tallies tomorrow. She is our chief medical officer. She will explain the medical protocols and emergency procedures." After the meeting, they were taken to their quarters. The rooms were small but comfortable. Sung unpacked his few belongings and sat on the bed. Through the window, 7 continued its slow rotation below. The next morning, Sung reported to the botanical laboratory. The room was large and filled with sealed containers. Each container held a plant specimen from the planet below. Warning signs covered almost every surface. A creature that looked like a blue fish walking on 2 legs approached him. Gills on its neck opened and closed as it breathed. "You must be the human," it said. Its voice bubbled slightly. "I am researcher. We will work together." "Nice to meet you. I'm Sung." Looked at him with large, wet eyes. "I have never met a human before. The stories say your species is very durable." "We survive," Sung said with a small smile. "What are we working on today?" Led him to a sealed chamber at the back of the lab. Inside, behind thick glass, sat a single fruit on a metal tray. It was round and red, about the size of an apple from Earth. It looked delicious. "The death apple," said quietly. "The fruit that killed researcher. Even touching it with bare skin can cause death. The toxins inside are powerful enough to kill in minutes. Sung leaned closer to the glass. He studied the fruit carefully. Something about its color and texture seemed familiar to him. "Has anyone analyzed the toxin?" he asked. "Yes, it contains a compound our scientists call. It attacks the nervous system of most known species. There is no cure. Even our best antidote only delays death by a few hours." Sung nodded slowly. His mind was working. He had studied many plant toxins during his training on Earth. Something about this description reminded him of something. "I would like to study this specimen more closely," he said. "Can I request access to the containment chamber?" Gills flared with alarm. "That requires director's personal approval, and you would need to wear a full suit, level 5 protection." "I understand. Please make the request for me." 3 days later, Sung stood in director's office. The crystalline being looked down at him with what might have been concern. "You wish to enter the chamber with the death apple," said. "May I ask why?" "I believe I can learn more about the toxin through direct observation," Sung explained. "The chemical analysis shows interesting properties. I want to study them further." "You understand the risks?" "I do." Was silent for a long moment. "Very well, but you will follow every safety protocol exactly. Physician tallies will be on standby. One mistake and you could die." "I understand, Director. Thank you." As Sung left the office, he felt excitement building in his chest. He had a theory that, if correct, would change everything the station knew about humans. He just needed to test it. And he was going to enjoy doing so. The suit was heavy and hot. Sung moved slowly through the airlock, checking each seal on his suit 3 times as the protocol required. Through the thick glass of his helmet, he could see the death apple sitting on its tray. It looked so innocent, so ordinary. Watched from outside the chamber, pressing against the observation window. Their gills opened and closed rapidly with nervous energy. "All readings are normal," said a voice through the speaker. It was physician tallies. Sung had met her yesterday. She was a creature with 4 arms and large compound eyes. Her species, though, were extremely careful about health and safety. She had made him sign 17 different forms before allowing this experiment. "Thank you, physician," Sung said. "I'm approaching the specimen now." He walked to the tray and looked down at the fruit. Up close, it was even more beautiful. The red skin was smooth and shiny. A sweet smell came from it, even through his suit's filters. Sung pulled out his scanner and began taking readings. The device confirmed what the previous analysis had shown. The toxin inside the fruit was indeed similar to cyanogenic glycosides. These were compounds found in many earth plants. Apple seeds had them. Cherry pits had them. Bitter almonds had them. Humans had been eating these plants for thousands of years. "Interesting," Sung muttered. "What did you find?" His voice came through the speaker. "The toxin structure. It's very similar to compounds found on my home planet." There was silence on the other end. Then Tally spoke. "Are those compounds deadly to humans?" "In very large amounts, yes. But humans have evolved resistance to them over millions of years. We eat plants containing these toxins regularly. Our bodies break them down naturally." More silence. Sung made a decision. He knew it might look crazy. He knew it might cause panic, but he needed to prove his theory. He reached up and unclipped one glove from his suit. "Doctor," Tallies shouted, "what are you doing?" "Testing a hypothesis," Sung said calmly. He pulled off the glove, exposing his bare hand. Through the window, he could see backing away in horror. Their mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. Sung reached down and touched the death apple with his finger. Nothing happened. He picked up the fruit and held it in his hand. It felt cool and firm, just like an apple from home. "Doctor, replace your glove immediately," Tallies commanded. "You are in extreme danger." "I don't think I am," Sung said. He turned the fruit over in his hand, examining it from all angles. "The toxin requires ingestion to be truly dangerous, and even then." He raised the fruit to his mouth. "No," screamed Sung took a bite. The fruit was delicious. The flesh was crisp and juicy. The taste was sweet with a hint of something like almond. It reminded him of summer days on Earth, eating fresh fruit from his grandmother's garden. He chewed slowly and swallowed. Dr. Tallies's voice was shaking. "Stay where you are. I am preparing the emergency antidote. Do not move." "I feel fine," Sung said. He took another bite. "Actually, this is really good. It tastes like a mix of apple and pear." Through the window, he saw running away. There was shouting something, but Sung couldn't hear the words. A few seconds later, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed. A mechanical voice announced, "Medical emergency in Botanical Lab 7. All medical personnel respond immediately." Sung continued eating his fruit. He was nearly halfway through it now. His body felt completely normal. No pain, no numbness, no difficulty breathing, just the pleasant feeling of eating something tasty. The door to the observation room burst open. Tallies rushed in, followed by 3 other medical staff. They carried cases full of equipment. Behind them came Director, his crystalline body flashing with agitated colors. "The containment chamber," Tallies shouted. "Open it." "Wait," said. "If we open the chamber, the toxins could spread." "He's already dying. We must administer the antidote." Sung walked over to the chamber's interior airlock. He pressed the button to open it from inside. "Don't worry," he said through the speaker. "I'll come out." The airlock cycled, and Sung stepped out into the observation room. He was still holding the death apple, which now had several large bites taken from it. Tallies rushed toward him with a large needle. "Hold still. The antidote must be delivered directly to the heart." Sung held up his free hand. "Physician Tallies, please wait. I don't need an antidote." "You ate the death apple. The toxins are already attacking your nervous system." "My nervous system feels fine." He took another bite of the fruit. "See, still fine." Everyone in the room froze. They stared at him with expressions of complete disbelief. Director stepped forward. "Doctor, are you telling us that the fruit which killed my researcher is harmless to you?" "Not harmless," Sung corrected. "The toxin is real, but humans have evolved to process it. Our bodies break it down before it can cause damage. We've been eating similar compounds for thousands of generations." He finished the last bite of the death apple and tossed the core into a waste container. "In fact," he said, wiping juice from his chin, "that was probably the best fruit I've eaten since leaving Earth. Do you have any more?" Tallies lowered her antidote needle slowly. Her compound eyes blinked in confusion. "This is impossible," she said. "Not impossible," Sung replied. "Just human." The door opened again and ran in. She looked panicked until she saw Sung standing there, perfectly healthy. Then her expression changed. Her eyes went to the empty core in the waste container. Understanding crossed her face. And then she started laughing. "You ate it, didn't you?" she said between laughs. "You actually ate the death apple." "It was delicious." Laughed harder. She had to lean against the wall to stay standing. Director looked between the 2 humans. "I do not understand. Why is she laughing? You should be dying." Wiped tears from her eyes. "Director, I think my colleague just demonstrated something very important about human biology. Something the Galactic Union clearly didn't explain when they sent us here." "And what is that?" Smiled. "Humans are survivors. We evolved on a planet where almost everything tried to kill us. Predators, diseases, poisonous plants, extreme weather. We didn't survive by being weak. We survived by adapting. Our bodies learned to process toxins that would kill other species." She walked over to Sung and patted him on the shoulder. "What you just saw isn't a miracle. It's just Tuesday for a human." Sung nodded. "I'd like to propose something, Director. I believe we should review all the toxic specimens from 7. Some of them might be useful to humans in ways you never expected." His crystalline body flickered with complex colors. Finally, he spoke. "Doctor, I believe I may owe you an apology, and I believe this station may have seriously underestimated your species." "No apology needed," Sung said. But I wouldn't mind another death apple. That one was really good. The news spread through the station faster than light. Within an hour, every researcher knew what Sung had done. By the end of the day, the story had been sent to Galactic Union headquarters. A human had eaten the death apple and lived. Sung sat in the medical bay while physician tallies ran test after test. She had taken blood samples, tissue samples, and brain scans. Her forearms moved constantly, checking readings on multiple screens at once. "Your body is processing the toxin," she said, amazement clear in her clicking voice. "Your liver is breaking it down into harmless compounds. Your cells are not even reacting to it." "I told you," Sung said patiently. "Humans have dealt with these kinds of toxins for a very long time. But the levels in your blood should have killed you 3 times over by now, if you were any other species." "But I'm not any other species. I'm human." Tallies set down her scanner and looked at him with her large, compound eyes. "I have been a physician for 40 years. I have treated hundreds of species. I have never seen anything like this." The door opened and Director entered. Behind him came the still looked shaken. Their blue skin was pale and their gills moved nervously. "Doctor," said, "the Galactic Union has responded to our report. They are sending a military officer to investigate." Sung raised an eyebrow. "Military, why?" "They want to understand the situation. And frankly, so do I." His crystalline body pulsed with confused colors. "What you did today should not have been possible. You broke every safety protocol. You removed your protection. You consumed a substance that we classified as one of the most deadly in the galaxy." "And I'm fine," Sung said simply. "Yes, you are fine, and that terrifies me more than if you had died." Stepped forward. "Director, perhaps I can explain. May I use your display?" Nodded, walked to the wall screen and pulled up a holographic image of Earth. "This is our home world," she said. "We call it Earth, and it is what the Galactic Union classifies as a Category 12 death world." Made a choking sound. "Category 12, but that's almost the maximum rating." "Correct. Earth is covered with predators, parasites, and poisonous life forms. Our weather creates storms that can destroy cities. Our planet experiences earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and floods. The sun bombards us with radiation. And somehow, despite all of this, humans not only survived but became the dominant species." She changed the image to show various earth plants. "These are common foods on our planet. This is coffee. It contains caffeine, which is a powerful nerve toxin to most galactic species. This is chocolate. It contains theobromine, which is deadly to many mammals. This is a chili pepper. It contains capsaicin, which causes severe pain and damage to non-human tissue." The aliens in the room looked horrified. "Humans consume these substances daily," continued. "We enjoy them. We even say they make us feel good. Our bodies evolved to not only survive these toxins, but to use them." "And the death apple?" asked. "The toxin is similar to compounds found in many earth fruits. Apple seeds, cherry pits, apricot kernels. We've been eating these foods for millions of years. Our bodies know how to handle them." Tallies shook her head slowly. "This explains so much. When the Galactic Union first made contact with humans, they were surprised at your survival rate in hostile environments. Now I understand why." "You evolved alongside death," said quietly. "You became death-proof." "Not death-proof," Sung corrected. "We can still die. We just have a higher tolerance for things that would kill others." The room fell silent. Everyone was processing this information. Finally spoke. "Doctor, the death apple that killed researcher. You said it tasted good." "Very good. Sweet, crisp, with hints of almond. It might be the best fruit I've ever eaten." Made a sound that might have been a laugh. Loved fruit. She was always looking for new varieties to try. If she could know that the fruit that killed her was actually delicious. He paused. "I think she would have found that very funny and very unfair." "I'm sorry for your loss," Sung said sincerely. "Thank you, but perhaps her death was not entirely meaningless. Because of her, we stored the fruit for study. Because we studied it, you were able to discover its properties. And because of your discovery, Colors shifted to something brighter. Perhaps good things can come from this. The military officer arrived 2 days later. Commander was a tall being with gray skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on their face. They wore the uniform of the Galactic Union Defense Force. "I expected to find a crisis," said after reviewing all the reports. "Instead, I find a scientific breakthrough." "We're still understanding the full implications," said. "But we believe many substances classified as toxic might be safe for human handling. This could open new research possibilities." Nodded slowly. "The Union has long known that humans are resilient. Your species survives situations that destroy others, but we did not know the extent of this resilience." They turned to look at Sung. "Doctor, are you willing to test other substances?" Sung smiled. "Commander, I've been waiting for someone to ask that. Yes, I want to test everything." Over the next week, Sung and began systematically reviewing the station's collection of toxic specimens. One by one, they identified substances that might be safe for humans. Some were still dangerous. A fungus that released spores attacking the lungs was just as deadly to humans as to other species. A plant that produced acid could burn human skin just as easily. But others were different. A flower that caused paralysis in most species produced only mild drowsiness in humans. A berry that stopped hearts had no effect on human cardiovascular systems. A leaf that caused blindness merely made human eyes water slightly. With each discovery, the station's understanding of human biology grew deeper. And with each discovery, the other species looked at Sung and with increasing awe. And perhaps a little fear. "You know," said one evening, "I used to think humans were just another species. A bit strange, a bit primitive compared to others. But now—" "Now?" Sung asked. Gills fluttered. "Now I understand why the galaxy is so interested in your kind. You're not normal. You're survivors of a planet that tried to kill you every day of your existence. And you won." Sung picked up a death apple from the bowl on his desk. He had requested a regular supply. The station had agreed, though no one else would come near them. "We didn't win," he said, taking a bite. "We're still fighting, every day. That's just how humans are." He chewed thoughtfully and swallowed. "Want to try one?" he asked, holding out the fruit. Backed away quickly. "I would rather face a plasma cannon." Sung laughed. "Suit yourself, more for me." 3 weeks had passed since Sung ate his first death apple. The station had changed completely. What was once a quiet research outpost was now buzzing with activity. New equipment arrived daily. Messages came from across the galaxy asking about the human researchers and their discoveries. Sung stood in the expanded botanical laboratory, looking at rows of plant specimens. Many had been reclassified. The labels no longer said "deadly, do not touch," but instead said "safe for human handling." Walked in, holding a tablet. "You need to see this." She handed him the device. On the screen was a message from Dr. Shin, a human biochemist stationed on the other side of the galaxy. She had been following their research through official channels. "She found something," said. "Look at the analysis of Plant 7. Sung read through the data. Plant 7 was a small bush from 7 that produced purple berries. The berries were toxic to humans too, so Sung had not eaten them. But Dr. Shin had noticed something interesting in the chemical breakdown. "The compound in these berries," Sung read aloud, "could potentially be refined into a treatment for syndrome." "Do you know what syndrome is?" asked. "No." "It's a disease that affects the species. It attacks their nervous system. There is no cure. Thousands die from it every year." Sung looked up sharply. "Species." "Yes, and here's the problem," pointed to another part of the report. "To refine the compound, someone needs to handle the raw berries during processing. But the berries are toxic to every species that has the medical knowledge to do the work." "Except humans," Sung said slowly. "Except humans. Dr. Shin says the berries would cause skin irritation in humans, but nothing serious. We could do the processing safely." Sung set down the tablet. His heart was beating faster. This wasn't just about eating fruit anymore. This was about saving lives. "Where's?" he asked. They found thee in the aquatic section of the station, floating in a pool designed for water-breathing species. Blue's skin had regained its healthy color over the past weeks. Working alongside the humans had helped them overcome their initial fear. Said gently, "Can we talk to you about something?" Climbed out of the pool, water dripping from their gills. "Of course, what is it?" Sung explained what Dr. Shin had found. As he spoke, his large eyes grew wider. Their gills began to flutter rapidly. "Syndrome," whispered. "My sibling died from that disease. They were young, so young. The doctors said there was nothing they could do." "I'm sorry," Sung said. "If this treatment works," his voice cracked, "if you can make it, you could save so many lives. My people have suffered from this disease for generations." Put a hand on his shoulder. "We want to try, but we need to set up a proper processing facility, and we need approval from the station and the Galactic Union." "I will speak to Director immediately," said. They were already moving toward the door. "This cannot wait." Director approved the project within hours. Commander authorized emergency resources from the Galactic Union Defense Force. Within a week, a small processing facility had been constructed in a section of the station. Sung led the team, assisted with the biological analysis, and a new face joined them, Officer Bin, a human security consultant who had been stationed elsewhere on the base. Bin was older than Sung, and she had gray streaks in her black hair and a calm, steady presence. She rarely spoke, but when she did, people listened. "I've been watching your work," Bin said to Sung one day. "Impressive stuff." "Thank you. I didn't know there were other humans on this station." "I try to stay quiet. My job is security, not science, but this," she looked at the processing equipment. "This is different, this matters." "It does," Sung agreed. The processing was delicate work. The purple berries had to be crushed, filtered, and refined through several stages. At each stage, Sung handled the materials directly. The berries did irritate his skin, as Dr. Shin had predicted. His hands turned red and itchy, but it was nothing serious. A minor discomfort compared to what they suffered from the disease. Dr. Shin monitored their progress through daily video calls. Her face appeared on the screen each morning, her eyes bright with excitement. "The compound is stabilizing," she reported one day. "Your processing technique is working. We should have enough for initial testing within a month." "A month?" asked. They had been present for every call, watching every step of the process. "So soon." "If everything goes well," Dr. Shin said. "No guarantees, but the early results are promising." Sung looked at his red, swollen hands. They hurt. But when he saw the hope in his eyes, the pain meant nothing. Commander visited the processing facility regularly. The military officer had become increasingly interested in the human researchers. "I came here expecting to investigate a security breach," told Sung during one visit. "A human eating toxic substances, it sounded like reckless behavior, dangerous, perhaps even deliberate sabotage." "And now?" Sung asked. "Now I understand why the Galactic Union has been recruiting humans for dangerous missions. Your species is not reckless. You are simply capable of things other species cannot do." Paused. "I have submitted a proposal to Union Command. I want to establish human-led research divisions at other stations, places where toxic materials require handling that kills other species." Sung was surprised. "That's a big step." "It is necessary. The galaxy is vast. There are countless planets like Seven, filled with substances that could help billions of beings if only someone could safely work with them." Looked at him with all four eyes. "Humans can be those workers. You can go where others cannot, touch what others cannot touch, survive what others cannot survive." "That's a lot of responsibility." "Yes, but I believe your species is ready for it." That evening, Sung sat alone in his quarters. Through the window, Seven glowed in the darkness. The death world. The poison planet. And yet, it might now provide medicine that could save thousands of lives. His door chimed. Entered carrying 2 cups of tea. "You look tired," she said, handing him one cup. "I am tired, but it's a good tired." Sat down next to him. "Remember when we first arrived? Director didn't want us here. The other species were afraid of us. And now? Now we're processing medicine to save lives." "Not just lives," smiled. "Dr. Shin sent me another message. She found 3 more compounds in our specimens that might have medical applications. One of them could potentially treat a disease affecting the—" Sung laughed softly. "Director would appreciate that." "He would," sipped her tea. "You know, when I was young, I dreamed of making a difference in the galaxy. I thought it would require some great invention or discovery. I never imagined it would be as simple as eating an apple." "It wasn't simple," Sung said. "It was millions of years of evolution, countless ancestors who survived poison and predators and disasters. They all led to this moment, to us being able to do something no other species can do." Nodded. "The death world advantage." "Exactly." They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the poison planet turn slowly in space. Tomorrow there would be more work, more processing, more discoveries. But tonight they could rest and be proud of how far they had come. 6 months had changed everything. The research station orbiting 7 had grown 3 times its original size. New modules had been attached, new laboratories constructed, new staff recruited. A permanent human wing now occupied the eastern section of the station. The sign above its entrance read, "Toxic Research Division Human Personnel Only." Sung walked through the corridors that had become his second home. Researchers from different species nodded to him as he passed. Some still looked nervous around humans, but most had grown used to their presence. A few even smiled. The first batch of medicine had been completed 2 weeks ago. Refined from the purple berries of 7, processed entirely by human hands, the treatment for syndrome had proven effective in early trials. Patients who had been given months to live were now recovering. Today was the celebration. The main hall had been decorated with lights and banners from a dozen different cultures. Tables were covered with food suitable for various species. Music played, a strange mix of sounds that somehow worked together. Director stood at the center of the hall, his crystalline body reflecting the colorful lights. He had requested to speak first. "1 year ago," began, his voice carrying through the room, "I received orders to accept 2 human researchers to this station. I did not want them here. I did not understand why the Galactic Union valued their species. I thought they were primitive, reckless, dangerous." The room was silent. Everyone listened. "I was wrong." Colors shifted to warm shades of gold and amber. "I was completely, entirely, embarrassingly wrong. In 6 months, these humans have discovered more useful compounds than we found in the previous 5 years. They have handled materials that would have killed any of us. They have created medicine that is, right now, saving lives." He turned to look directly at Sung, who stood near the front with Bin and— "Doctor, when you ate that death apple, I thought you had gone mad. I thought I was watching you die. Instead, I was watching the beginning of a new era for this station." Made a gesture that seemed like a bow. "Thank you." The crowd applauded. Sung felt his face grow warm with embarrassment. "I did not do this alone," he said when the applause quieted. Dr. Shin, and many others worked just as hard. And none of it would have been possible without the support of Director, Physician Tallies, and Commander. "Nevertheless," said, "you started it, and so I would like you to say a few words." Sung had not prepared a speech. He stood silently for a moment, gathering his thoughts. "When I came here," he finally said, "I was just a botanist. I studied plants. I never expected to become whatever I am now." He smiled slightly. "A professional poison eater, maybe." Soft laughter rippled through the crowd. "Humans have a saying, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. It means taking something bad and finding a way to make it good." He paused. "Well, life or evolution or whatever you want to call it gave humans a planet full of things trying to kill us. Poison plants, predators, diseases. And somehow we survived. We adapted. We became resistant to things that would destroy other species." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a death apple. Several aliens nearby stepped back reflexively. This fruit killed a researcher named. It was classified as one of the deadliest substances in the galaxy. He held it up for everyone to see. To me, it's a snack. He took a large bite. The crunch echoed through the silent hall. The galaxy is full of worlds like 7, he continued while chewing. Death worlds, poison planets, places that other species cannot safely explore. But humans can go there. We can touch what others cannot touch. We can survive what others cannot survive. He swallowed and took another bite. Commander has told me that the Galactic Union is establishing human-led research divisions at 12 other stations. More will follow. Humans will spread throughout the galaxy, handling dangerous materials, discovering new medicines, exploring places that were thought to be too deadly. He finished the apple and tossed the core onto a nearby table. This is what we can offer the galaxy, not advanced technology, not military power, just us, humans, products of a death world, survivors, he smiled. And apparently food critics for the galaxy's most poisonous plants. The applause this time was louder, longer. Sung saw wiping tears from their large eyes. Tally's was clicking her mandibles in what he had learned was the expression of joy. After the speeches ended, the celebration continued. Species mingled freely. Laughter and conversation filled the hall. Sung stood by the window, looking out at 7, joined him. Good speech, she said. I made it up as I went along. It showed, but in a good way. They watched the planet in comfortable silence for a while. What's next for you? Asked. I'll stay here, lead the toxic research division. There's so much more to discover. He glanced at her. You. I've been asked to help establish one of the new stations, a planet called 3. Apparently, it makes 7 look like a vacation resort. Sung laughed. Sounds perfect for you. The door to the hall opened, and a small figure rushed in. It was a new arrival, a researcher from a species Sung didn't recognize. They were short, covered in soft fur with large, frightened eyes. Is this the celebration? The newcomer asked nervously. I just arrived. I was told to report here. Director approached them. Welcome to station. You must be our new chemical analyst. Let me introduce you to the team. He led the newcomer towards Sung and... This is Dr. Sung, head of our toxic research division, and Dr. our senior. The newcomer looked at them with wide, frightened eyes. You're the humans. Yes, Sung said with a friendly smile. I've heard stories. They say you eat poison. They say nothing can kill you. They say you come from a death world where even the air tries to murder you. Laughed. That's mostly exaggeration. Mostly, Sung agreed. He reached into his pocket and pulled out another death apple. Would you like to try some local fruit? It's really quite good. The newcomer looked at the apple. Their eyes went even wider. Their fur stood on end. And then, very slowly, they collapsed to the floor in a dead faint. Physician Tallies hurried over, already pulling out her scanner. Sighed. Really, Sung, on their first day. What? I was just being friendly. You need to stop offering people deadly fruit. It's not deadly to me. It's deadly to everyone else. Sung looked down at the unconscious newcomer, then at the apple in his hand. He took a bite. Fine, he said, chewing. I'll wait until their second day. Shook her head, but she was smiling. Behind them, Tallies was reviving the newcomer, while muttering something about needing better orientation materials for new staff. And through the window, 7 continued its eternal rotation, the death world that had given birth to a new era of galactic cooperation, all because one human had decided to eat an apple. Some discoveries, Sung thought, really are that simple. He took another bite and watched the stars.